Hello again. I want to talk this morning about an English community made up almost entirely of people whose families had their roots in London and how it has been dismantled over the last 20 years. Whether this was deliberately done or if it was merely the unwitting consequence of the disastrous effects of unrestricted immigration, I do not know, nor does it matter. I'm talking now about the Debden estate next to the Essex town of Loughton, on the very edge of London, near Buckhurst Hill and Chigwell. Debden is one of the last stops on the Central Line when you go east. In 1999, the street to which I moved in Debden had nobody other than white British people living in it. Most of them had their roots in London's East End, and I felt an immediate affinity with them, since my own origins are in that part of London. I grew up there, and some of my family moved out of the East End after the end of the Second World War to places like Romford, Dagenham, and Hornchurch. Most of the people living on the Debden estate came from the same part of London at around the same time. Debden estate was built at about the same, roughly when Harlow Newtown was built, and it was people who had lost their homes during the Blitz. London County Council was trying to move a lot of people out into the Essex countryside. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, most of this movement took place. I was born in Custom House, down by the docks, and I grew up in Bethnal Green and then Ilford. The awful slur has been thrown at me that I'm middle class, but this is absurd. It takes more than the elocution lessons I had as a child to turn somebody into a member of the middle classes. My wife, who is from Grimsby and has a good ear for accents, said when first she met me that I sounded like an East End barrow boy trying to talk posh, which was a spookily accurate summing up of the case. Everything about Debden was great. It was like a little bit of the East End plonked down between the countryside and Epping Forest. Today, the place is unrecognisable. The little church of St Nicholas in Rectory Lane, in the graveyard of which is buried Sarah Catherine Martin, who wrote the nursery rhyme Old Mother Hubbard, was a perfect example of a little Anglican country church. It has now been taken over by the Romanian Orthodox Church, and this has precipitated a huge influx of Romanians to the district. It is as common to hear Romanian spoken in Rectory Lane now as it is English. As old people move out, places like Norfolk, the houses are bought by foreigners. Opposite the house which we bought then, there now lives a Romanian, a Bulgarian, and a Pakistani. No white English people seem to buy houses there anymore. Walking to the station in the morning along Rectory Lane and then past the Sainsbury's, one sees and hears nothing but foreigners and black people. These are people with different customs to those which I follow. They speak different languages, have different ways of living. They build huge sheds in their back gardens and rent them out to other foreigners. They don't abide by the same courtesies as the white English inhabitants when it comes to things like parking and disposal of rubbish. From a pleasant community where I could be sure that everybody in the street and all the neighbouring streets shared my own values, my own feeling about England, people whose families came from the same part of London as my own, people who had the same memories as I did, the same loyalties, men and women whose fathers and grandfathers had fought for this country in the war. From that state of affairs, Debden has become a community of strangers with a hodgepodge of languages and loyalties. This same process of disintegration has been taking place across the whole country. Debden is not an isolated example. From knowing how your neighbour is likely to think and feel and having a common heritage with him, many of us now live cheek by jowl with folk about whom we know nothing, whose loyalties are wholly obscure to us, whose intentions are unknown. I cannot see this as an improvement. Whether it's possible to reverse the process, I do not know. I'm rather inclined to doubt if it can be done at this late stage. It looks to me as though the country I love has been marred permanently and changed out of all recognition, all time.